Okay, for 81 through 101, we're going to need our unit circle information. So let's start with just a quick review of quadrant 1 of our unit circle. I'm going to start by filling in my points for pi over 2 at 0, 1, and I'm going to call this 0 right here, and that's going to be the 0.10. So again, remember what's special about our unit circle is that each of our radii are a distance of 1. So this one's going to be 1, 0, and this one's going to be 0, 1. And I'm going to start up here where I have the angle pi over 3. We'll be working in radians. So I'm going to go from 0 to 1, and I'm going to get bigger as I go. So that's going to be 1, 2, and 3. And everything's going to get a square root. The square root of 1 is 1, and everything's going to get a denominator of 2. Alright, and then to fill in my y values, I'm going to go from 0 up to 1 this way. So I'm going to get bigger as I go this direction. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. And each one gets a square root. The square root of 1 is 1. And everything gets a denominator of 2. And so that will look like that. Alright. Let me remind you that x is going to be our cosine values as we look at these, and y is going to be our sine values, and then tangent is going to be our values of y over x. So I like to go ahead and just kind of calculate my y over my x. In this case, that would let my 2's cancel out, and I'm going to end up with a tangent value there that's the square root of 3. So I'm going to write my tangent values just kind of right over here on the side. Square root of 2 over 2 divided by the square root of 2 over 2. Anything divided by itself is just going to give me 1 on that one. And then starting off this one, I'm going to end up with 1 over the square root of 3. I'm going to rationalize my denominator, and that's going to give me the square root of 3 over 3. And then finally, to work with this little quadrant 1 of my unit circle, I'm going to need my trick that says that all students take calculus. What that's telling me is where our trig functions are positive. So they are all positive in this quadrant. In quadrant number 2, sine is positive. Cosine and tangent are both negative. In quadrant 3, tangent is positive. Sine and cosine are both negative, and in quadrant 4, cosine is positive, sine and tangent are both negative. Okay, so starting with number 81 is asking me to find the sine of pi over 6. I'm going to go right here to pi over 6. I know that sine is going to be my y value, so my y value at pi over 6 is just going to be that little value right there of 1/2. Alright, on 82, we're working with 7 pi over 6. Let's go figure out which quadrant that's in first. So I'm going to say this is 6 pi over 6, and as I count my terminal side around this way, I'm going to go to 6 pi over 6, and I'm going to say that one more is going to be right here at 7 pi over 6, which is in the third quadrant. And in that third quadrant, I know that only tangent is positive, which means my answer for cosine is going to be negative. And I'm going to go to my reference angle, which is going to be pi over 6 on this one. And I'm looking for cosine, so I'm looking for my x value. So I'm going to go to pi over 6. I'm going to go find my x value, and that's going to be negative square root of 3 over 2. Box that in so we can tell the difference between my angle that I was drawing over there. I didn't really need to draw the angle on number 81 because that was just in the first quadrant. Okay, all right, let's go draw my angle on number 83. On number 83, we're working at a reference angle of pi over 3 on this one. So if this is 3 pi over 3 right here, I'm going to say that one back is going to be 2 pi over 3. So I'm going to get to 2 pi over 3 before I get to 3 pi over 3. So we are in the second quadrant right here, which thanks to my all students take calculus. Let's go ahead and just write that up here so we can see it a little better. All students take calculus. I know in the second quadrant, sine is the only one that's positive, which means that tangent is going to be negative. All right, I'm going to go grab my tangent value, which are the ones that I wrote on the side. for pi over 3. So at pi over 3, my tangent value is going to be the square root of 3. So in this case, negative square root of 3, because we're working in the second quadrant. Okay, this time on number 84, I'm working at a reference angle of pi over 4. So let's go find our angle using 4 pi over 4, which would be 1. So I'm going to get to 3 pi over 4. My pi over 4s are kind of in the middle. So 3 pi over 4, I'm going to get to as I wrap around this way before I get to 4 pi over 4. So we're going to be again in quadrant 2, where, thanks to my all students take calculus, only sine is positive, so tangent is going to be negative. All right. At pi over 4, there's pi over 4 right here down here at the bottom if you can see. Pi over 4, my tangent values that I wrote over here on the side, that's going to give me a tangent value of 1. So my tangent of 3 pi over 4 is going to be negative 1. All right, number 85, I'm working at a reference angle of pi over 3. Pi over 3 is going to work with 3 pi over 3. So as I wrap around, I'm going to get to 3 pi over 3, and then I'm going to go one more right here to 4 pi over 3, where we're in the third quadrant, where only tangent is positive, so sine is going to be negative. All right, at pi over 3, I'm looking for my sine value, which is y. So at pi over 3, I'm going to go grab my y value because we're working with sine, so that will be negative square root of 3 over 2. All right, on 86, I'm working with my reference angle of pi over 6 on this one. So let's go and do 6 pi over 6. Right here is 1. So I'm going to wrap around. I'm going to pass 6 pi over 6, and I'm going to go one more right there to 7 pi over 6. So we are in the third quadrant, and in the third quadrant, I know tangent is positive. So I'm going to put a little plus sign right there if I want to, just to remind myself that that one is going to be positive. And I'm going to go to pi over 6. And at pi over 6, I'm going to go grab my tangent value over here on the side, and that's going to give me the square root of 3 over 3. So my answer here will be positive square root of 3 over 3. Okay, on 87, I'm working with a reference angle of pi over 3. So let's go and call this 3 pi over 3. And then I need to keep going, so that would be 3 pi over 3. In the third quadrant will be 4 pi over 3. And so in the fourth quadrant will be our 5 pi over 3 right there. So this angle is going to be in the fourth quadrant, where, again, thanks to my all students take calculus, in the fourth quadrant, I know that cosine is going to be positive. So since we're working with cosine, I know my answer is going to be positive. You can put a little plus sign there if you want to. You don't have to. All right. I'm going to go to my reference angle of pi over 3. I know cosine is going to be x, so I'm going to go to pi over 3. I'm going to grab my x value, which is going to be 1/2. So my answer on this one will be positive 1/2. All right, on 88, I'm working at that same angle of 5 pi over 3. So we already said on 87 that 5 pi over 3 is going to be in the fourth quadrant. In the fourth quadrant, only cosine is positive, so tangent's going to be negative. I'm going to go look at my tangent value at pi over 3. So at pi over 3, my tangent value is going to be the square root of 3. Negative on that one because we're working in the fourth quadrant. All right, on 89, we're working at a reference angle on this one of pi over 4. So let's call this 4 pi over 4. So I'm going to count around, and I'm going to get to 3 pi over 4 before I get to 4 pi over 4. So in the second quadrant, I know only sine is positive, so cosine will be negative. And I'm going to go grab my x value because we're working with cosine. at pi over 4. So my x value on this one is going to be the square root of 2 over 2, and negative because we're in the second quadrant for that cosine value. Okay, on 90, we're working with 0. 0 is our little starting point right here where we have the point 1, 0, because we're working with a radius of 1. So we've gone 1 to the right and up and down nothing to get to that little point right there. Sine is going to be my y value, so my y value is going to be 0. And 91 asked me the same question, but about cosine. Cosine is going to be my x, so cosine is x and sine is y. So cosine is going to be my x value, which is just 1. So we can kind of answer those two questions together. All right, tangent on this one is going to be our y over our x. So at 0, my y value was 0. My x value was 1. It's okay to have 0 in a numerator, so I'm going to say that my answer there is 0. All right, let's go look at some of my other quadrantal angles. That's what we call these that lay on the quadrants. So this one on 93 is asking me about 3 pi over 2. That's going to be this angle right here, down here at the bottom. So that's going to be where I've gone left and right nothing, but I've gone down 1. Can you see my little negative 1 right there on my point? So this is going to be the point 0, negative 1. For sine, I want to grab y. So my y value right there is going to be negative 1. All right, at pi, we're on this quadrantal right here. Where to get to that angle, that point, I've gone to the left 1, and I've gone up and down nothing. So I'm going to say that's the point negative 1, 0. All right, we're looking for cosine, which is x. So my x value right there will be negative 1. All right, this one's going to be a little bit strange when I talk about the tangent of pi over 2. Here's pi over 2 up here at the top, where I've gone left and right nothing, but I've gone up 1 to get to that point on my radius of 1 circle. All right, this time when I do y over x, that's going to give me 1 over 0. It is not okay to have 0 in the denominator, so we're going to write a little D and E on that for does not exist. Does not exist. Sometimes you'll see that listed as undefined as well. Okay, let's look at some reciprocals. 96 through 101 work with reciprocals, so let's do a little quick review that sine's reciprocal is going to be cosecant, meaning that I'm going to find my sine value and then flip it upside down. Cosine's reciprocal is going to be secant, and tangent's reciprocal is going to be cotangent. So make sure you know which reciprocal goes with which one of these kind of original functions over here. Okay, so on 96, we're finding the secant of pi over 3. The reciprocal of secant is cosine. So let me start by finding the cosine of pi over 3. Cosine is going to be my x value at pi over 3 is going to be 1/2. So to find my secant value, I'm going to just flip that upside down, and I'm going to say that my secant value is 2. All right, this one on 97, I'm going to go find the sine of 5 pi over 3 first. All right, we're working at a reference angle of pi over 3. I think I've already found, did I find the sine of 5 pi over 3? Oh, I found the cosine. All right, so 5 pi over 3, I'm going to go around to 3 pi over 3 right here. And I'm going to keep going, so that's 4 pi over 3 and 5 pi over 3 is going to put me in the fourth quadrant. In the fourth quadrant, cosine is positive, which means sine is negative, which means cosecant is going to be negative. So if you're working with something like sine that's negative, its reciprocal will also be negative. And for sine, I'm looking for the y value at pi over 3. So my y value is going to be the square root of 3 over 2. And when I flip that upside down, I'm going to get 2 over the square root of 3. And I'm going to need to rationalize my denominator. So that's going to give me negative 2 square roots of 3 over 3. And again, negative because we're working with the reciprocal of sine in the fourth quadrant. All right, the cotangents are kind of nice. Cotangent is the reciprocal of tangent. Let's go find 5 pi over 4 first. We're working with our reference angle of pi over 4. So here's 4 pi over 4 right here. Excuse me. So to get to 5, I'm going to go to 4 pi over 4, and I'm going to keep going one more right there to 5 pi over 4. So in the third quadrant right there, I know that tangent is going to be positive, and my tangent value at pi over 4 is going to be 1. So that's why this one's kind of nice. When I flip 1 upside down, and again it's positive, so cotangent will also be positive. When I flip 1 upside down, I still just get 1. 1 is like having 1 over 1. So when you flip it, you still just have 1, which is nice. Okay, last 3. Let's find the cosine of pi over 4. Pi over 4 is in my first quadrant right here. So my cosine value is going to be x. Excuse me. When I go to find that x value, I'm going to get the square root of 2 over 2. All right. When I flip that for secant, that's going to give me 2 over the square root of 2. And I need to rationalize my denominator, which is going to give me 2 square roots of 2 over the square root of 4, which is just 2. And then I'm going to let my 2's cancel out. So my answer here is just going to be the square root of 2 and positive because we're cosine in the first quadrant. All right, last 2, let's look at pi. Pi is over here where I have gone to the left 1 and up and down nothing. So we're going to be at negative 1, 0. When I talk about tangent, I talk about tangent as being y over x. So when I talk about cotangent, I'm going to be x over y. So x over y on this one will be negative 1 over 0. And I can't have 0 in that denominator, so 100 is going to be that it does not exist. All right, last one. Pi over 2 is going to be up here at the top where we've gone left and right nothing and up 1. So I'm going to start by finding the sine of pi over 2. The sine of pi over 2 is going to be my y value, so that will be 1. And just like we did up there for tangent, when I flip 1 upside down, I'm just going to still get 1. All right, so we've left you a little note here too that these are just some of the unit circle values. Make sure that you know how to get all of them, so make sure you get some good practice with that unit circle.